This is Stories from the Trail. I'm Gary Sizer, one of your hosts. Today we're talking to one of my favorite people who I met on the trail, Scott Herriott. Scott is a filmmaker, a comedian, an outdoorsman, a hiker, and probably most notably a Bigfoot hunter. One of his many films is about not just his personal experience with Bigfoot, but the culture of Bigfoot hunting itself. Today we talk with Scott about that and many other things. Before we jump into it, Megan, anything you'd like to add?
Gary, can you do me a favor? I'd really like at the beginning, when you do the voice in sort of thing, I want you in the beginning to do something like, we could, if you're listening and you want to make this a drinking game, feel free to take a shot anytime Squatch plugs himself.
No.
Anytime he says the name of his website.
I think I might be held criminally liable for alcohol poisoning.
This is Stories from the Trail.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked the show a little bit when I was growing up, American Bandstand. God, I do sound old. I remember back when we listened down the Victrola.
I wondered how long it would be until we got your old man voice.
I can't stop talking. Actually, this is my normal voice. I have to put all energy I have into talking what appears to be normal.
Did you ever watch Kids in the Hall? I think you're
Yes.
a big comedy fan. Do you remember there was one sketch, I think it was Dave Foley, he was like the permanently sarcastic guy, and the whole thing was just like, no, I'm not being sarcastic. This is just how I talk.
Dude, I was lucky enough to see them live on the
wow.
Sunset Strip. Yeah, I used to hang out, name drop alert. David Spade and I were pretty good buddies over 20 years ago when he just before and then just as he started SNL and I was doing stand-up. So we hung out quite a bit. And so he got me into this show at the Roxy. And it was awesome. I mean, and there was like Chris Rock was there, Mike Myers. I think Farley was there.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was pretty legendary.
So you say you were friends with David Spade?
Well, the thing about
what'd you do?
How'd
you fall out of his good graces?
Shot him. I actually shot him in the leg once. He didn't take kindly to that.
An arrow to
no,
the knee.
I think the thing with Dave, I partially understand because actually the main break and the times we have talked since is that I lived in the valley when we were friends, and then I moved. I got a girlfriend, and I moved in with her down in Redondo, and he always cited that as when we wouldn't hang out anymore because he is so lazy in a lot of ways, especially in regards to friends. He wouldn't be willing to drive or meet halfway, and then plus he was getting so busy and getting more well known. But yeah, I still hold a little bitterness, not a lot, but a good guy. We just haven't talked in a while.
Yeah, I know what it's like to be that friend, like not willing to drive so far to meet someone.
Yeah.
But like you travel a lot, I travel a lot. When we go, home, where's home for you?
Born and raised in the San Fernando Valley, and that's currently where I am.
Okay, so it's a little different for me then, because like when I go home, I'm like 1,000 miles away from where I grew up, and if I'm gonna go, I need to be there for like a month because it's hey, come see me. You're only 6 hours away. Pennsylvania's a huge state.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've always made it a policy just never to really have too many friends, except on Facebook, where hopefully it will help promote my movies. Which, by the way, is are available at squatchfilms.com.
Squatchfilms.com.
Yeah.
Can anybody hear me?
Oh, your voice sounds lovely.
Oh, thank you. Oh, it worked. Okay. Oh, sorry about that, guys.
How much shoveling did you do? Is it gnarly?
No, it's not that bad. It's just that I forgot that I had to do it when I came home. I forgot that traffic was going to be going 30 miles an hour. And then I got here and then I couldn't find my microphone. And I realized it was buried in my trunk. Yeah,
Okay.
so I had to do all that. And I haven't poured my glass of wine yet, so I feel very like I'm just a
all
little
out of
bit
sorts.
frazzled.
So I'm going to be the only non-alcoholic, not alcoholic. I didn't mean that as a noun for either of you, but non-alcoholic imbibing member of this podcast. I just like to make that clear.
Scott's he's our virgin guest.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a word I rarely hear associated with me.
In more ways that we were just recently discussing. No, never mind. We're not.
Yeah. Come on. It's,
we were getting personal.
Okay.
If I think I know what you were going to ask, the answer is I was 9 years old. Anyway.
Can I take this microphone with me to the kitchen? Oh yeah, guys, I'm doing this. I'm able to reach this microphone into the kitchen. Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
I'm an arm's length away from the wine.
Oh God. Cut to 45 minutes from now. Let me tell you, I hike every inch of that.
All right. It's been a really rough couple of weeks. So
okay.
Yeah, I
I'll add tonic water to it to make it like diluted. So
I haven't talked to you since the last time we recorded.
The last time I saw Megan, I believe, was at the
gathering.
The gathering.
Yep.
Was that 2 years ago? No.
That was
about,
it
wasn't
like a
2017.
year and a few months. So not the most recent October, but the one before that. So like 18, not at quite 18 months, like 15 months.
Right. I think that's the last time I saw Baltimore Jack as well.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. On that happy note, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah. So we're actually we're recording now. I pressed record when Megan came on, and we have a loose conversational style. I'll come back and edit out anything that doesn't work.
Yeah, but don't trust him to actually edit out the things he says he's going to, because I said, "Oh, you're going to edit that out," and it ended up in episode 2. So you've been warned.
I think has a good sense of what would work and what wouldn't. He's a published author, for God's sakes.
Self-published. You have to make that distinction. The published authors, they wear scarves and hang out on yachts.
Really? Yachts? I don't know if authors can have
I'm a self-published author. I grind my own coffee.
I think Truman Capote is really the only one who fits that description. He's a big scarf wearer.
That's true. That's true.
So, we're not. I know we talk about the AT a lot, and that's actually where we all met. But,
yes.
Oh yeah.
We're not primarily an AT show. We just all
good.
happen to coincidentally have that in common. Scott, Megan, I don't know if you know this or not. Did you know that Scott was a stand-up comedian?
I did, and I actually scoured the internet for videos.
How'd that go?
Like after we met.
Bet you didn't find any.
No, I found some stuff, but not like actual stand-up.
The thing with the goat and the chimp, did you find that?
Wait, is that a real thing?
Years ago.
No.
Oh, okay.
I did stand up like on Evening at the Improv a few times, the MTV half-hour comedy hour, Comic Strip Live.
So this would be the 90s, early 90s?
This would be mostly 90s until about 98. I got a gig at Tech TV in the Bay Area, which was this tech channel, and I was there for like 4.5 years. So yeah, it's been a while, but if you really want to be amused, perhaps in a positive way and perhaps in a negative way, if you go to YouTube and search on Walt Disney World Inside Out. I hosted a show on the Disney Channel in '94, I believe, and some of the magic.
And I'm looking at all this, folks, and I suddenly realized you're all winners here at Walt Disney World. In fact, because look at it, you came out, you're soaked, you're all going to get one of these exciting Walt Disney World rain slickers. It's brightly colored, has a famous character on the front. It's a raincoat, basically, is what it is.
This is Squatch.
I have yet to look at it. I'm very excited now.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
wait till you have about 3 lines in you. Then some of my lines might appear amusing.
It was one of the most 90s things I've ever seen.
There's a lot of pastel, which would be more 80s actually, but again, it's Disney, so they were about a decade behind.
Yeah,
I thought 80s was more like bright colors.
Yeah, you're right. at night.
But I wasn't around in the 80s, so don't take my word for this, obviously.
Don't brag or anything there, will you?
But you weren't around at all in the 80s, right? Like
Not even a little bit.
Wow.
I was like, and half of me was an egg hanging out in one of my mom's ovaries.
Oh my goodness.
But that's it.
I don't want to say that line hurt me, but my back went out just listening to it.
Yeah, technically, I'm from the 60s.
Speak up! What?
Meh.
I can't hear you.
What?
Oh, jeez.
That's our show. Good night.
What's a podcast? Meh. Oh wow, that we got completely derailed. What were we talking? Oh, the 90s. Yeah, it was what Disney Mixed Up? Is that what it was called?
No, it was a career mix-up for me. It was called Walt Disney World Inside Out.
Inside Out. Yeah, you can see how I would think that would be Disney Mixed Up. Walt Disney World Inside Out.
So, find your favorite sofa, check for a little loose change, and look at that, a sandwich. And take a seat right on the edge, because that's where the view is best for Walt Disney World Inside Out.
It was, the genesis of that show was in the mid 90s, there was this, I think Megan was 4, if that. And
I was going to say maybe younger.
Robberies around Orlando. And people, somebody got murdered and they found out these people were, these robbers and murderers were following cars that had rent-a-car frames on their license plate. So attendance at these parks in Orlando just dropped like precipitously. So Disney wanted to try to boost back attendance. They wanted to have a show about Walt Disney World, and so they decided on this theme of finding out, behind the scenes, like how does the Haunted Mansion really work? Why does this, all the technological stuff and goofy, and we'd have a guest host for each show. So that was the origin of it.
And you were the host.
I was the host.
And how did that happen? How do you fall into something like that?
A buddy of mine who was in the biz knew one of the producers. That got me an audition, and I got it. Because a lot of man on the street stuff in it, and I like doing that stuff. And
was that the first thing you hosted?
Hold on one second. I got to open the window because my dog just cut one.
Oh.
No, I don't. It keeps. I did a podcast for 7 years on one of my most favorite topics ever since I was a kid, the Bigfoot show. If you go on iTunes or wherever, if you just scour the internet, I co-hosted it with several friends who are equally as passionate about this topic as I am. Again, the Bigfoot show. And that was a lot of fun.
You're so good at plugging yourself.
I am. That's really not true. Squatchfilms.com. Squatchfilms.com, which is, by the way, Megan, that's where my films are available, the ones I make about trails.
So
you mean all of these ones that I have sitting over here that I'm looking at right now? All of those beautiful films? With the Gary, lovely artwork?
Say something flattering. What, Gary?
Well, I actually was going to say something flattering, and I still am. I'm going to follow through. Your films are actually how it was. The first time, I can't say we met. It's how I was exposed to you, if I can use such a suggestive term.
Sound like he exposed himself.
Yeah. So it was I was hiking the AT in 2014, and I was at Hudson's. What's Hudson's Bunkendine? It's Hudson's unusual Bunkendine or uncanny.
Bearded Woods.
Bearded Woods.
Bearded Woods, exactly.
Uncanny.
I spent plenty of time there.
Bunkendine. It's a hostel in Connecticut, but they had your movies on DVD there, and you were still filming flipping. I think.
Was it the first one?
You were working on the third one.
That might have been Flip Flop Flipped.
Flip Flop Flip. That's the third. There was Flip Flop Flip in the first. Let's go to a clip. And then there's Flip. And it took me about a month and a half to come up with the title for the second one. Flip Flop Flippin' 2. And then Flip Flop Flipped.
Which that's the third one. So you were still filming that.
Yeah.
when Megan and I were hiking. Now Megan and I were separated at the time. We're divorced now. We had,
Katie wasn't really into the second wife sort of thing.
Yeah.
We were about 100 miles away from each other, so I'm not sure where she was. But I remember I saw those DVDs and we watched them while I was staying there, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And someone was like, yeah, he's on the trail right now. He's up north, whatever, blah blah blah. A couple of weeks later, I was in Maine, and I had called for a shuttle from Honey and Bear, their place, the cabin. And
I love those guys.
You were either doing work first day or something there. They had you running shuttle because they said, oh yeah, we're gonna send somebody to come pick you up at the road crossing. And I opened the door, and it's that guy from the movies. And I sat in the front seat, and I was kind of nervous, and I was like, I'm sitting next to a celebrity, and you made me feel a little funny there, Scott.
Well, it was the most striking thing about that story, besides its length, was if I had a dime every time I've heard that. Anyway, was that they actually let me drive their car. I can't really. I had forgotten about that. Perhaps pushed it out of my memory. But what nice people, Honey and Bear. They are true legends of, and I guess they're not technically doing it, and they'll still take in old friends they've known, but they're getting up there. I think they're both in their 80s, and what lovely folks.
I ran into them at Trail Days last year. I was really surprised to see them.
Yeah. Oh man, they would come out to the kickoff on the PCT.
Oh,
they
really?
They would drive out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're very, very cool. Actually, I think Bear is originally from the San Diego area, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, cool guy.
And have you done the PCT? I know you go to the kickoff too, but have you hiked that trail?
Oh yeah, I did. Well, actually, I did the.
There's a movie for that.
Yeah, I did. That's what got me into long distance hiking. Actually,
that was the first one.
Yeah, in 2003, I wasn't even going to hike at all. I just became fascinated with this, learning about the PCT, and there's people who spend 5-6 months of their lives doing this. So I thought that would be an interesting subculture documentary. So I drove all up and down, did this film. It's called Walk, available at squatchfilms.com. And you can download it. You can buy DVD. Am I leaning too close to the mic? Is that too? Anyway.
I'm getting a glare off your forehead. Can you lean back a little bit?
And then I did a film on roadside attractions the next year. But then I came back to the kickoff, and I was so happy to be there. I go, why don't I do another film, but I hike a little more? And that's what I did. That was still walking. So there's still walking. Next year, I did 720 miles more of the trail. That was even more walking, the title. And then finally in 07 and 08, I did 1,500 miles combined to do Walked.
Wow.
To finish my, as I like to call it, 4-part trilogy of the Pacific Crest Trail. Lovely time, really got me hooked into long distance hiking and the people who do it.
So that was your first long hike. What was your first? I know you've been in front of the camera a bunch. What was the first thing you did behind the camera?
Let's see. It was a key grip on Shawshank Redemption. No, I wasn't. That makes no sense.
I was in. I was totally on board too. You had me.
I was getting excited.
Let's see. The first one that I worked at Tech TV, as I mentioned before, and then in 2002, right about the time that the quote unquote digital revolution was really ramping up, meaning you could get really pretty good equipment at reasonable prices, that being a PowerBook, a Sony Handycam, and let's say Final Cut Pro software. When the Tech TV gig ended, I decided I would, I always, when I was a kid, I used to make little movies, and so I thought this would be a good opportunity to do something. So the first one I did, called Squatching, which was a serio comic view about the Bigfoot phenomena, because even though, as you guys know, I'm a bit of a jokester most of the time, but I'm actually very serious about the Bigfoot phenomenon. I think there is something to it. It can be really funny when you see some of these horrible, prank videos and whatnot. So I wanted to combine both of those things, that, my comedic sensibility along with my genuine passion for the subject. And that's what Squatching was.
Okay. And I've seen a Squatchalypse. Am I saying that right?
Oh, a Squatch. That was the film I did last year about the new Bigfoot trail in Northern California. A Squatchalypse Now.
Yeah.
A summer on and around the Bigfoot trail. Loads of fun to shoot, and happy how it turned out. It's available at squatchfilms.com.
Let's talk about that a bit, because I've seen it. I know the story. I know how it ends, but let's pretend I don't.
Okay.
Where's this come from? Your trail name is Squatch. You've got a couple of different movies, a podcast, a whole bunch of. Where's this Bigfoot thing start with you?
I think I get asked that a lot, and I tell people, "Shut up, just accept it." No. When I was a kid, my dad got me a book written by a pretty well-respected Canadian journalist named John Green, who was really the first kind of serious writer to write books about this subject. He was, hold on a second, noise coming from outside window. And he was like one of the first guys who went back and found in old archives, like newspaper archives, these stories about these hair-covered beings, dating back into the mid and late 1800s, miners, Native American stories, whatnot. And I just found it really captivating and interesting. The Patterson film, the famous alleged footage of a Sasquatch, that was that was on TV right around I was 10. For those listening and who know about the Patterson film, I actually lean toward it being fake, but I wouldn't be super surprised if it wasn't.
That's the famous, like the blurry Bigfoot picture that.
Walking across and you see the arms go back. The arm, famous freeze frame, and I'm telling you, and I don't want, because you'll have to cut the tape because I'll just keep talking about this thing, as we talked about it ad nauseum on the Bigfoot show. Available at iTunes, I believe, or if not, just Google it. Anyway, it's one of those films. You have people who are ultra skeptical, and they'll just go, "Oh, it can't be real because there couldn't possibly be something like a species like a Sasquatch." And of course, that's horrible science.
That particular logical fallacy is called argument from incredulity.
Ooh,
and
nice.
It fails every time.
Yeah. It's like you got to be, if you're truly scientific about something, you have to be open-minded to it. And granted, you can't prove a negative, but on the other hand, and this is what the Bigfoot show is really about, we had 3 of the 4 hosts on there. We all leaned pretty strongly. We think there is something to this phenomena, but we spent most of the time kind of making fun and pointing out the bad evidence that has been presented for it being that it should be deemed as conclusive, which of course there's been no body, there's been no conclusive DNA. So I would just say, to hopefully wrap this up, I don't know how many tangents I've gone off already on this, but I think it's a topic that, just on a quick side note, yet another tangent, is in 92, I think it was 1992, Jane Goodall actually pretty strongly came out of the Bigfoot closet. On an NPR radio interview, they had a couple people call in, and the first person asked if she thought there were any large primates that hadn't been classified yet. And she said, "Well, I assume you mean the Sasquatch or Yeti or Bigfoot." And the host, thinking that she would take the traditional skeptical view, said, "That's not what they're talking about, Dr. Goodall." And her first words out of her mouth were, "Well, you might be amazed to know that I'm sure that they exist."
Oh, well.
Dun, 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 dun. We had an orchestra in the booth. No. And so that's been something I think a lot of people don't know. And she did backpedal to a position of probability.
Sure.
But I think it's something that is worthy of study. If they do exist, I'm adamantly anti-kill. I think it would be horrible to kill one just to prove it. But
are there pro-kill Bigfoot hunters?
Well, there are. In fact,
there
are pro-kill in the sense of just for verification, and then the argument being that would therefore protect them going forward. And I think there is some logic to that, but I think it also tends to be lazy, that with today's burgeoning technology, if these things exist, it seems with patience, a little time, if you were able to get close enough, get a DNA sample, you wouldn't have to go to the horrific, cruel step of having to kill one to verify it.
Right.
Even to the point, if you got close enough, perhaps some type of tranquilization, get an implant on it, let it live its life, and then if it died, you recover the body, and you're going to gain much more information about these types of creatures as opposed to just having a dead one on a slab. So one of my co-hosts on the Bigfoot show, who I respect greatly and is a great guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but we're on opposite ends of that argument, and we had some pretty heated discussions. But
you've come close to something out there, right? You saw something.
Oh, yes, you're referring to the 92 incident, actually. To this day, this was over 25 years ago. Sorry about my breathing, by the way. I'm fighting this, whatever this gunk going around is.
I'm glad
yeah, it's
you're
that
breathing.
75-degree weather. It's really rough on your system.
Yeah. And I can't really go into too much detail because, as you know, Gary, if you've listened on any of the podcasts, it takes like 20, 25 minutes to tell the full story. And I'm not saying buy the film to get the full story, because you don't even get the full story in the movie.
But if you want the film, it's available on Squatch's website.
Where?
Yeah, Squatch Film.
Huh? Oh. So let's do a quick rundown then. So you were in, I think, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes, near about, as the crow flies, roughly a mile away from the mouth of the Klamath River.
Okay. And you were specifically tracking or looking for Bigfoot or Sasquatch or something on that trip,
right? It was specifically in response to a sighting that I had totally haphazardly come across while getting information. I was asking if there were any horse packers that go out of this town, because I was interested in doing something called call blasting, where you blast recordings of mountain gorillas and purported Sasquatch screams to see if you get some kind of response. And then I asked the lady I was talking to on the phone what do you think about Bigfoot? And she says, I'm skeptical, but a lot of people around here believe it's true. She goes, in fact, this guy called yesterday. She goes, it's weird you're asking me this. This guy called yesterday all bent out of shape, saying his son and his son's friend had a sighting about 25 miles from here. And he called here because this town, Willow Creek, is like known for Bigfoot activity. That's what got the ball rolling. Went there, talked to the kids, 2 kids who had basically said they saw one within 100 feet of them. No whiff of BS, no contradictions between the stories. Found them very credible. And then 3 weeks later, investigating at the top of the hill, at the base of which they had the sighting, the father of one of the kids and myself encountered something that we got video of. And in my opinion, and knowing I wasn't involved with any type of hoax, or the probability of somebody hoaxing at that time was so remote, given how far we had to go up this hill.
Yeah, you were not just like on a trail or anything either. There was some serious bushwhacking.
This was very gnarly, roughly 30-35% degree, jungly, very, raincoasty type of forest. And again, at the base of which where the kids had the story. And we didn't think anything was going to happen. Our goal of going up the hill was to look for footprint evidence up on these old logging roads that you could see from the valley below. Because both the dad and me felt, these kids, I'm just saying from personal experience, talking to both those kids separately, mind you, to match against each other's stories where there was no contradictions, and both were very believable, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old, that we thought, well, maybe there's some footprint evidence up on these old roads. And as we were going up there, we encountered what we encountered, basically what it was, a couple of eyes sticking out of low down, though, so it wasn't immediately like on high Squatch alert, but we saw these 2 eyes, videotape that, and they were looking at us for about 10 minutes. It didn't act like a bear, didn't look like a cougar, didn't have characteristics of other known animals. They were pretty big eyes too. I'd say roughly, at least 2.5 inches apart. And as we approached this animal, because again, all we could see were the eyes, they were shadowed by this big log that it was under. As we approached it, God or the void or whatever ultimate reality you want as my witness, the eyes of this animal gave off this bizarre reddish glow, coupled with what appeared to be a dilation of the eyes. Now, in my mind, the next thing I was thinking of, besides changing my underwear at that point, was that the plausibility or probability that this was one of these things increased quite a bit. Because if you read the literature from Native Americans to people who've claimed to see these things up close, they report this bizarre red eye glow. So, and it really was really red. I mean, that's what I saw with my own eyes. I saw the eyes of an animal that I was looking at for 10 minutes. And as I went closer, the eyes gave off this very distinct glow, whether bioluminescent or just refracting the red part of the spectrum back. I've done research since in the 25 years, don't know any animals. It clearly wasn't a deer that,
right.
It would give off a reddish glow, but it does match those descriptions, as I mentioned, of various eyewitnesses through time.
Yeah, I've heard that red eye thing before. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if I remember from a Squatch Lips, some of the footage that you showed, there's an outline of like a shoulder and a neck.
Exactly. Well, that's the neck. That's the next part of the story. And I was shooting the eye footage. And so we're like, well, let's, before it turned red, right? Before they turned red. And we weren't feeling freaked out at all. It was just like, we didn't know conclusively this was a Bigfoot. We felt there was credence to the kid's story, which happened a few weeks earlier at the base of the hill. We were trying to how do we get to see this thing in its full, whatever it is? So we decided to walk toward it. It's when we took the 2 steps that the red eye glow happened, froze us, because it was freaky, dude. It was seriously kind of one of the freakiest things I've ever seen in my life. So I thought, well, I don't want to keep walking toward it. Does the red mean it's scared? Is it going to attack? Is it going to, we don't know. So I figured if Daryl, who we both had video cameras, I had a high 8 camera, and he had actually a VHS camera where you put the VHS tape in the side. And the reason we had the cameras was in case we had found any footprint evidence up on the roads we were talking about. So I figured if we separated, went in opposite directions, meaning like, okay, that thing's in front of you, you're looking at an object 40 feet in front of you through thick vegetation. I would go to the right, still looking, trying to look at it. He would go left, and maybe instinctually, whatever it was, would think that we're trying to surround it, and then it would get up and move, and at least one of us could see it and get some videotape. That was the theory. Well, I get about 15 feet away down to the right, and all of a sudden I hear Daryl he's okay, excuse me. And I look back at him. And as it turns out, this stuff was so thick up there, you move about 3-4 feet in it, you can't see what you just saw because it's so thick. So I'm 15 feet from Daryl, but I'm looking at him. Now the camera, he's pointing his camera up as opposed to where I was shooting down, right? Mm-hmm. His voice has gone up about an octave. He's very emotional. You can actually hear me on the original tape saying, take it easy, and he's videotaping. Videotapes are about 30 seconds. I've crept back up closer to him. The camera lowers down, and now he's crying. There's tears in his eyes. He's looking at me, and he's like whispering, it's right there, man. It's right. It's standing right. And I'm like, now I'm trying not to lose it. I can honestly say in my adult life, I've never seen an adult this scared. And, toward those who were skeptical of this whole story, oh, he could have been conning you. Well, he had Sean Penn caliber acting skills. I mean, the guy's crying. I'm trying to keep from crying, or not crying, but just at least from freaking out. So I figured, something, he's got videotape. Let's get the hell out of here. We don't have any pepper spray, no gun. We're way the hell up this hill. So we start down, we stop periodically to listen. We didn't hear anything come after us or any weird smell besides my own pants. And we go down, and so I'm anxious to see this video. I pop in the video, and I'm standing about 15 feet away from the video. And so I'm expecting, based on his reaction on the hill, that there's going to be something blatantly there. And I play it, and I'm like, what's he talking about? I'm not seeing, there's a lot of vegetation. It's like he's moving the camera slightly, and I'm like, maybe he's just freaking out, because I know I definitely saw eyes of an animal, and so did he. Right. So maybe he just freaked out. So then I rewind the tape, freeze it, and I step back. I was really close to the TV. I got really up close to take a look at it. Now I step back, and I'll never forget standing there, and I just looked away from the TV after thinking what I thought I saw and saying to myself, Be objective. Be objective. Don't Rorschach this. You've got Bigfoot on the brain. You're into Bigfoot. Look at it objectively as possible. Every possible known explanation. And I'm looking, and still to this day, sticking out of the side of this rhododendron bush at about 5 feet high, this appears to be this huge Schwarzenegerian mountain gorillian upper arm sticking out, which, by the way, matched the color that the kids described, which was a grayish, light-colored Sasquatch, is based on what they had seen. And it also, if it is an arm, it's bending at the shoulder, and the forearm is hidden behind the bush. I mean, you see what appears to be a deltoid, bicep, tricep, armpit, where the beginning of a torso would be. You can't see the torso because it's behind this bush.
It almost looks like the shadow of a football player. I mean, it's something.
So you've seen it. You've seen the video,
something.
right?
Yes.
Right. So then I remember thinking, if this is a humanoid shape, which this arm seems to be definitely humanoid, it stands to reason that if you go at a 45-degree angle off the tip of this purported shoulder, there should be something that appears to be a head.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, you go up there at about 6 feet, is this kind of chrome domey, smoothish, same color as the arm, head-shaped thing. But right above where the eyes would be, and then coming down like where you would see, where you call like a face plate, for lack of a better term, it's just dark. And where there's a brow ridge, where there would be a brow ridge, it appears to be protruding. So here is this head thing that fits with that. Okay, does that mean it's a Bigfoot? No, of course not. But it's not ruling out that it could be one. Then I decided to look at the tape and look for motion. And then when you do that, you look at this footage twice within these actually 29 seconds, you see this head clearly move, this head object move twice. It tilts out once. That's when Daryl's reaction. Now I'm understanding. When I was watching him, when I was up on the hill, and he's like, okay. I don't know what the hell he's seeing, but now when you watch it and you see what he's reacting to, it makes sense.
It's doing that head tilt thing like your dog does when.
Exactly. That's a good description. Tilts it out to the left, holds for a few seconds, goes back. Daryl makes a couple, goes, excuse me if I'm crying at this moment, but it's right here. And then it tilts out one more time, just a little bit farther, and that's when he loses it. You see the camera go limp in his hand. You see the image of the camera go limp. So when we went back real quick, we went back the next day with 2 more people, still no gun or anything, but we figured whatever was there is not there, and where the eyes were, whatever creature was there was gone, and wherever the shoulder thing was obviously gone. Like if you see a bear at point A and you go back the next day, the odds of they're nearly astronomical, but we still decided to keep going up the hill from that point through this thick vegetation to try to get to the road. And as we got about 30 feet through very, very thick vegetation behind where the shoulder head object was, all of a sudden we open this vegetation and there is this like 30-foot long, 15-foot wide nest. Clearly a nest that some type of animal had made, matted down, clearly not due to a wind vortex or any of that type of theory. We get into it, and I was totally reminded of like mountain gorilla nests that I've seen in National Geographic Discovery Channel specials. Gorillas like to hide out at the tops of hills. It's a prime defensive position. Mm-hmm. And at the bottom of this little nest, like it's still this angle, it's about a 10-degree angle, I'd say, at that point of the slope. There is what looked like kind of like a hole in the vegetation, like something or things had been crawling in and out, right? Well, if you went right through this hole in the direction it was pointing and you went about 30 feet, you would get to that log where the eyes were. So we did that. We crawled in. As we went up to that log, it became my opinion and Daryl's opinion that was whatever was there with the eyes was way too small to be what he got on video, just because you're now there. So what I think happened after reflecting on all total possibilities, I think what happened was if these things are real, it's not like a lone mythological monster, hopping in vans and scaring people in various parts of the country. It would have to follow basic primatological principles. So there would be a group. I think it was a small one, we saw it. We're looking at it. And as soon as we made that kind of potentially threatening move of walking toward it, when the red eye glow happened, mom, dad, or big brother back in this super thick stuff did what any big mammal will do. When we started separating from each other, it moved to try to get perhaps in between us and it. And that's when Daryl saw it. So when you take everything together, the history of that area, there, the Yurok tribe, the Hoopa tribe have stories of these beings. You look in the annals of Bigfoot lore, a lot of stories have come out of that region. What the kids' testimony, what I saw with my own eyes, the videotape evidence, the Ness-like structure found the next day. That's why I say to this day, I think in all strong probability, I was within about 40 feet of two of these beings. Can I say absolutely sure? No. But every other explanation that's been offered, combined with what I actually witnessed and what I've seen with the video, they make less sense than it being two of these things. And that's the story. You got it out of me. So you can't tell that story in 5 minutes. It's too many details.
Good. I like it just the way it is. What's the typical reaction to that story and the footage?
I guess when anybody tells anybody anything, usually if people don't think it's real, they're not going to go, "Wait, you're full of shit."
They might.
I mean, usually people have always been cordial to me. I mean, no one's going, "Get out of here, you nut job," nothing like that. I think, obviously within the realm, Bigfoot believers or those interested in the phenomena, or at least interested in some degree, are willing to listen to it. And I completely understand if you've got someone who is hyper skeptical about this stuff. I mean, from a purely scientific viewpoint, you should be, because there's nothing I offer in this story that anybody should take as scientific proof. Anything short of DNA analysis, part of a body, a full body, will be considered proof by the scientific community, and that's the way it should be. I guess I look at it like, before mountain gorillas were verified, and they weren't verified as a being in science until the turn of last century, like around 1901. But for hundreds of years, there were these stories about these man-like beings around the volcanoes of Rwanda, and there's a lot of people there's no way there's anything close to us as humans because we're such grand, unique creatures. This couldn't be any, that type of bullshit reasoning.
It's fun to go back and look at old, mid 18th century European drawings of elephants.
Yeah.
People.
Oh, wait. Did you ask me, have I done that?
No, well, I'm just saying it's interesting to look at, people who saw a creature, nobody in Europe had ever seen an elephant before. When explorers came back and they described it, the pictures that they drew were it's ridiculous how wrong they got it.
Exactly. And I think there's also this tendency these days to think in some quarters that, we know everything about Earth. We know something that big could no way. And it just doesn't stand up to scrutiny, in my opinion. If we're talking about first of all, we know higher primates are very, very smart animals. Every time, I mentioned mountain gorillas. It took a long time to verify those. Orangutans, a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And then you couple that with the view a lot of people have of America being, we're totally discovered. I think it's almost like a prejudicial thing. We're so civilized. We don't have wildness here. And well, they've obviously never been to the Pacific Northwest, because there are parts of the Pacific Northwest that in fact, I asked the primatologist this in Calgary, and I asked him, if you had a mad scientist and he cloned, let's say 1,000 mountain gorillas, and he dropped them out of an airplane with parachutes, they were able to get out of them, how often would they be seen? And they were able to survive, and assuming they would be able to, and they probably would be able to survive with the various mosses and whatnot that they could eat. How often would they be seen? He said very, very, very infrequently. They're by nature super smart. There's not a lot of them to begin with. And even if you put 1,000, let's say if you posit 1,000 or 1,500 Sasquatches, when you compute that into how many square miles there are in the Pacific Northwest, and you assume a social group of roughly, let's say 4 to 5, it comes out to some ridiculous number, but would make sense for higher primates, of one group for every 750 square miles of forest.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you had an intelligent ape-like creature in, on average in that, and all these steeply sloped, densely vegetated hills, they wouldn't have a hard time staying hidden from us and our puny little bodies. We'll be right back.
Megan and I are storytellers. We've got a lot of stories.
Actually, I did rent a car recently. I was very excited. I did it all on my own, all by myself.
Not all of them are good ones.
I rented the car and I drove down because I'm old enough to.
The good news is you didn't pay a dime for this podcast. We don't charge for the show, and as of now, we don't have any advertisers. So, if you'd like to support us, right now the best way you can do it is by joining our Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search for Stories from the Trail, and you'll find us there. What we're looking for is your input. Tell us how we're doing, give us suggestions for future episodes, maybe things we could include as segments, games, etc. Or just tell us how much we stink, because, we're new at this. Maybe we do. Anyway, thanks for listening. Back to Squatch. Little brains.
Yes.
So I know you remember a show from the 70s we grew up watching called In Search Of, hosted by Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, yeah.
And
Sure.
it had that classic Patterson footage of the blurry Bigfoot at the beginning, a bunch of other things.
Yep.
How do your opinions fall on, some of those other kind of In Search Of things, like UFOs or psychic phenomena?
Well,
how do you feel about other stuff like that?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm actually really skeptical of is the Loch Ness Monster. I used to be really into that too when I was a kid. I always loved mysteries. But again, I think any topic you go into, especially something like this, cryptozoological, thank you, I thought I'd throw that word out, is you should study both sides of the argument, both pro and con, then you can come to your own conclusion, your own opinion. And with Loch Ness, I've come down on the side of being pretty skeptical of it. Just the limited amount of space, the alleged size of these creatures, how would they breed? And then, they always argue the underground tunnels, but there's really no evidence of that. So that, I think that's unlikely. Can I say it conclusively isn't? Of course not. That would not be scientific. But Bigfoot, I think, is a whole different kettle of fish. The amount of area we're talking about, known behaviors of primates, the sheer volume of the stories, which are in the thousands. I mean, there's also been thousands of Loch Ness stories too, but I think there's reasonable explanations that could explain those, other like sturgeons or a certain wave. There was a really good one on Discovery Channel that showed these various waves and in fact, I witnessed this in Redondo Beach when I lived there. If you have a boat pass up to like a quarter to a half a mile, once it's gone, these like things that look like a triple humped animal will appear in the water. They look to move, even though the boat is pretty long gone. It's just some kind of post, obviously reactive phenomena that happens in certain conditions. So, it's a great phenomena, Bigfoot. I'm sorry, I wanted to finish answering your last question about other weird phenomena. Ghosts, I would say I'm really on the fence. I don't know. Could be, but we also know, when you're getting in that realm, it's easy, when people say, I'm sensing something, I mean, there's no way to verify it.
Right.
You just can't, really, and I think it's that field is rife with charlatans and people who want attention. They want to be thought of as special. So, yes, I'm talking to Dolores right now. What is that, Dolores? They should give me money? Okay, well, here's some money.
Yeah, it's always, yes, give them the money.
Yeah. So
I really want there to be extraterrestrials. I really want that to be a thing.
Yeah, I think that's, there's no doubt there are UFOs, unidentified flying objects. It's just, what are they? I think there's been some really interesting footage that has clearly not been explained. The most recent of which, about a month ago, when they had that released footage that one of the armed services released. I didn't hear any other explanations. Just because you see something, obviously like a disc or something, and you can't jump to the conclusion logically that there are little green men, doing it. But who knows? I mean, we know, for example, like a classic disc, almost like a top. Yeah. This was the guy, and it was a fighter jet. Did you remember? This was about a month ago. If you go to, like, let's say CNN, any major news thing, just put in UFO in the search box, and I bet that will be one of the ones that come, because it was the last big UFO story. The footage is interesting.
Was it over Mexico?
What's that?
Weird footage of humanoid UFO over Mexico goes viral, sparks skepticism. That's what I see.
Never know.
That's not it.
Yeah, I think, and as to whether there's extraterrestrial life, I find that, the odds that there isn't are just tremendous. Knowing that we know how many galaxies and how many billions and billions of stars there are, it just seems really egocentric to think.
We're really just a tiny little speck.
What's that?
We're really just a tiny little speck in a huge, huge galaxy. It's how could we possibly be the only planet that has life? That's just statistically.
Yeah, it's really, really low. And I guess what we don't know, and I don't know if in our lifetimes, perhaps yours, Megan, I don't know about mine, but that we'll have some kind of verification of it elsewhere. Who's it? Carl Sagan wrote on this, and I think a point that really stuck with me is that he said the thing is, life can take really different shapes, and what that mean. Just look at the life here that we know about on planet Earth. This variety of fishes and like Gary's example of the elephant. I mean, my God, So who knows? I remember he even speculated, what if it's theoretically possible there could be silicon-based life forms.
Yeah, because we forget that we are carbon-based, and our atmosphere is different than the atmospheres of a lot of other planets. And just because we're carbon-based doesn't mean that all life forms have to be carbon-based and have the same atmosphere that we have.
Exactly. So, and then, and also I forgot the guy's name. He's a Japanese gentleman who wrote a great book called Hyperspace, but he made a great point on an old UFO special that was actually on ABC years ago. It was one of the last things Peter Jennings, God rest his soul, hosted. It was a really good objective pro and con view on UFOs. And this physicist said, you hear a lot of people say, well, imagine a civilization thousands of years advanced beyond us and what they would be able to do moving around the cosmos. And then he said, well, but given how old we know the universe to be and how much we don't know about developments of various galaxies and whatnot, imagine a civilization millions of years ahead of us. I mean, I think you could even, and knowing about interdimensional.
Uh-oh. You still there? And the last thing I heard was interdimensional, and then nothing.
Gary, you missed the anal probing.
You missed the anal probe?
I don't know that I missed it. That was the
style of a true Southern gentleman right there. He mentioned Southern. He don't even talk like that. What am I doing?
Michio Kaku is the physicist you're thinking
exactly. Yeah, he's great. I thought he was a great popularizer of at least people opening their minds to the possibility of life elsewhere.
Yeah, big fan of him. Carl Sagan. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
He was great. Dragons of Eden. Great book.
Pale Blue Dot.
The Demon Haunted World. That's a great book. Although he dismissively just derides Bigfoot in one sentence. Not very scientific. Yeah, he does. At the beginning of one of the chapters, he used his, it's kind of a go-to. It's like newscasts, Bill, we got a kicker story tonight, Jane. Oh, what is it, Bill? Well, apparently a farmer that is a blah, blah. And it's obviously some guy in a $10 gorilla suit walking across his field. And that proves that there couldn't be anything like Bigfoot because we're so smart. We know everything. I'm not wearing any pants. Good night.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So What about can I talk a little about I went to Australia this year.
I was hoping we'd get to that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
very
know
cool.
you just came back from somewhere really interesting.
Yeah, it was Australia was actually went there 3 times in 2017. This is the what are the benefits of having a dad who was a airline pilot and he's still alive. So
Oh.
I have him on an IV drip 24 hours a day. Is that right, Dad? Yes, I'm on an IV drip. And so the tentative kind of idea of this film, the tentative title is Three Trails in Australia, because there really wasn't one super long one there. I don't think there really is a nothing of the scope of, let's say, the PCT or the AT, coupled with the fact that I'm a section hiker at heart. I'm not, and plus film wise, I find that type of film there's a lot of them are already have been made. I spent 6 months hiking the Continental, and it's kind of been done. So I thought it might be good to do, various trails in Australia, because I've never been there. So the 3 I picked were the Bibbulmun track, which is in southwest
Say that again.
Australia.
The what track?
It's called the Bibbulmun.
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 It's fun to say too. Bibbulmun. It's a Bibbulmun track. It's a good Bing Crosby would go, I'm going to hike on the Bibbulmun track. So, God, that's dated. Bing Crosby. Hello, I'm 59 in 3 days. And that's about, God, I forgot the 600 plus miles. Had a lovely time. I ended up doing over 2/3 of that. I did run out of time, and plus I'm slow and I like to take my time, but I think I got the good sections of it. Incredible wildflowers.
Yeah. Was your goal to do the whole thing, or just as much as you could?
It was kind of loosely. I wanted to, and when I went back, I had 7 weeks, and because logistic folks with my folks and my dog, and so I had like 7.5 weeks, and it was an outside possibility, but I shortly learned. Part of the problem was their huts are pretty. It's hard to get to more than one hut, and there's not a lot of camping apart from the huts. I mean, something like the AT or the PCT, you can kind of cowboy camp, and it's harder on this type of trail.
So
is it allowed?
Bibbulmun, what part of Australia? And are we going
southwest?
Southwest.
Are you even allowed to cowboy camp, or is the cowboy camping strictly?
You can,
not
but there
allowed?
just aren't that many. Because you know what? There's not tons of people who hike this thing regularly, which is kind of a shame, because I think it's a really great trail, especially during the springtime in the south with the wildflowers. And then you're going along it. The southern 100 miles of that trail is stunning. It's some of the best, most beautiful hiking I've ever done. So imagine you're about a 1/4 mile upslope from beautiful, pristine ocean, no sign of development anywhere.
Ooh.
And then every 100 feet, you're seeing a new type of wildflower. That's what it was like for about 4 or 5 days. And
that sounds great.
And seeing like 2 or 3 people. It was just great. It was really awesome. And but luckily I did run into people on other parts as well as that one, and got interviews with it, because that's what I like doing with these films, is just getting little stories, little tips from people, whoever I run into. And hopefully, they've got something interesting to say, at least some kind of snippet. Great wildlife too, man, in Australia. I mean, just a lot of ruse. I would say people have asked me, Gary and Megan, how many kangaroos do you see? I would say it's really very comparable to how many deer you would see on either the PT or the AT. That kind of numbers. So you go maybe you go a day or two, you don't see one, then you see 3 one day, and then you'll come into a zone, you see a shitload of them. And it was really cool seeing them up close, and just how funny it is when they bound away. It's just, you're just immediately, wondering the evolutionary mechanism where it evolved to that. And
what about
their hut system is great. The guy who came up with the idea actually hiked the AT. And then he thought, well, we should have something like that in Australia. And so that's what got him going. And
so it's a relatively new trail?
It's relatively new. I think it's only about, God, I should know this. You'll have to buy the film. It's going to be available.
Yeah, we could fix it in post.
Yeah, I think it's no more than about 25 years old.
Okay.
But I was a bit amazed that I didn't run into more people. Then I started thinking, as far as from America, it is far away, obviously.
Mhm.
And it's on the western coast of Australia. So you got to go to Perth, which is over there, and that's kind of near where the beginning of it is. But if you're a hiking enthusiast and you've done a lot of the big name trails already, I really recommend it, and especially during spring. It was really cool, and the people of Australia are lovely, and there's nice townage along the Bibbulmun too. There's a nice spread out feeling. You don't have as many as the AT. I would say the frequency of towns is kind of like a little closer to the PCT. Every 3-4 days, that type of thing.
Okay.
And then I also did the Alera Pinta Trail, which is like almost dead center in Australia, out in the outback.
North to south?
It actually goes east to west.
Okay.
Or west to east. And enjoyed that. Very deserty, reminiscent of like Utah at times. My good buddy Gazelle, she came out with me. She's been in some of my other films. Had a good time there. We went and saw Ayers Rock, known as Uluru. That's the Aboriginal name. And I'm telling you, you've probably heard of Ayers Rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
Both of you?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how amazing it is to see up close. You see the pictures and you probably go, oh, that'd be pretty cool. If I'm ever near there, if I'm going, the thing is, there isn't really thing near there, but it is so trippy. It is just this gigantic orange, looks like it's a shell to a giant spacecraft. And it's kind of pockmarked on the side with these strange designs. It's got little like mini worn away canyons in the side where water collects, and you can drive around it. And it was just really, really cool. Can't recommend that enough. So we did that.
Sacred site to the Aborigines.
It is very sacred. In fact, they used to, I don't know what the legislation on this is currently. I know that some Aboriginals don't want any people going up it anymore. There's actually a handrail, a la Half Dome, that you can climb to the top of Ayers Rock. We saw it, but we were running short on time. We didn't see anybody on it, and we also figured nobody was doing it. But if you're ever thinking of going there, check on that because it tends to fluctuate. I think sometimes the Aboriginals don't want it to happen. Other times they allow it. I think they were getting enough probably disrespectful things going on up top,
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. And then the third trail was the Overland Track, which is in Tasmania, which I didn't know until 2 years ago. When I heard the term Tasmania, I had no idea that was actually part of Australia. I thought it was its own country, but it is part of the country and of Australia.
Is it a
Tasmania rocks.
Province or territory, state? What do they call it?
Maybe a state. I think that's or state or territory. It's a place. I just used it when I stuck.
It's a place.
It's a place. And Overland was nice too. It's a little overrated, I would say, but still beautiful. And you have to pay $200 to do it. That's for preservation purposes.
Okay.
There is board walking along parts of it, but I still thought it was worth it because there's enough staggering beauty in Tasmania there and in other places. So I can't recommend that.
And is
that
this
island enough.
3 separate trips, all one trip?
Yes, 3 separate trips, and then combined with that was also little visits. Like I mentioned, Gazelle and I drove over to Uluru, which is about 5 hours away from Alice Springs, which is the town you fly into, which is at one end of the Alera Pinta. And the last one I did was the Bibbulmun. That was so I was away for just over 2 months to get the roughly 67% of it done. And so overall, I'm happy. I hope to have it out in about 2 month and a half. I think
That
2
seems
months at the latest.
fast. Wow.
And Yeah, it's nice. I recommend it. Australia is really cool. To be honest, when I got there, I was like, I like it. Oh, it's pretty cool, because they always say great thing. But I'm telling you, the longer I was there, the more I got into it and appreciated the relative wildness. And if I could share, real quick story.
Please.
When I'm hiking on the Bibbulmun, again, not seeing a lot of people, right? This is the coastal section I mentioned. And it had been a tough day physically. I mean, I'm running in a lot of spider webs, like with these gnarly spiders, and you don't see the web. Then you run into the web. Then you notice the spider's like 3 inches from your face, and you're freaking out, And then you got these sand dune up and downs, and I was just, feet blisters. It was just one of those days. And near dusk, and I come around this corner, and there's this camper trailer. And I was actually in such a foul mood. I was like, I could tell I was going to run into these people. I was like, I didn't want to see anybody. I just want to get to the hut and crash. So I come around this corner, and then there's the camper and these two folks, obviously a couple, man and woman, and their dog. Dog comes up to me, Rhodesian Ridgeback, really nice. Hey, mate, how you doing? Good, how you doing? Come on over. Very friendly, super friendly. They've had a couple of cordials. The lady offers me a gin and tonic. It's awesome. Well, I find out in short order, this guy is gigantic. He's like 7 feet tall, probably weighs 300 pounds, but he's like not fat. He's like a good shaped guy, but just like super mellow. Well, it turns out he's Luke Longley, who used to play with the Chicago Bulls, won 3 world championships he played with Jordan and all those guys. And is regarded probably as the best Australian player to ever play in the NBA. And his wife, Anna Gare, it's just a sweetheart. She's like this well-known food show host in Australia. And they're out in the middle of friggin' nowhere. And they're just, super nice. Come over. Long story short, I ended up crashing at their place for 2 days because it ended up raining the next 2 days. They let me interview them. They're going to be in the movie. It was great. Just one of those like weird, cool. Yeah.
What are the odds?
I know. What are the odds? And, years ago, he bought about 150 acres of property down there. Beautiful, wild property for like $190,000 or something. It's got to be worth probably 15, 20 times that now.
Oh my goodness.
But it was great. And I think it's testimony too, when you get away from big cities and you're out in the boondocks, I mean, even like celebrities are really cool because you're not, they don't have to get someplace real quick. They don't have to, it's just, they're just chill. And it was really, really cool. Pleasant surprise.
Wow. Yeah. It's always interesting when you're out on a hike and you just run into a random celebrity.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we met.
Oh, please.
Random
Please say it again. I need it. My ego's hurting today.
You're my favorite random celebrity.
And so, yeah, you never know.
There's always a cast of characters out on the trails.
That's it is. I mean, you guys know that. I mean, it is such a lovely, all-encompassing type of experience because I think there's so many positive. I mean, you're out there using your body, exercising your body, seeing new things every day, meeting new people, the fellowship that develops out there, the humor, just getting back to basics.
It makes you live
awesome.
longer.
What's that?
It makes you live longer, and not just literally by making you healthy and happy and literally extending your days on this planet, but every single day out there is different. So, over a 6-month period, you collect, 180 unique memories. Whereas, if you're working in an office or just doing your daily grind, you have one memory for that 6 months. It's the same day over and over again. Your life is more rich and robust and full when you do stuff like this.
Exactly. And I can only speak for myself, but I know there are other hikers who feel this, and I'm definitely one of these people. As much as I love it, I also, anybody contemplating doing this, and everybody's different, but there are those times, and I have found it. I mean, I found it on the Bibbulmun at time because I was basically hiking alone. But I get bored. I mean, I'm a motor mouth, as you can tell. I'm yakking.
Mm-hmm.
It's like and there are those moments, and you're in a particular ecosystem. You're enjoying that, and you do that for about an hour, and it's like, then it doesn't really change, and you're getting a little tired, and you're a little day. So I would say anybody listening, just possibly be prepared for that. But I would recommend push through it because the overall benefit, things Gary just mentioned, are completely worth it.
So what's
Okay.
next? What's next?
Well, I'm thinking about perhaps going to Ireland, doing some kind of walk across maybe Northern Ireland, get shot at,
What?
get a leprechaun drunk. Well, it'd be kind of a hike / pub crawl, even though I'm not a big drinker,
Okay.
but gotta love pubs.
Well,
right?
I mean,
They're not just
given
about the
location-
booze. I mean, they've got a
Yeah.
lot of food, like good food.
And then I'm predominantly Irish. My background, I've never been to Ireland, so it'd be a little bit of a discovery thing. I did that ancestry.com and found out I was largely that, and 23% shithole countries.
Oh,
I've got mine that's coming in the mail soon, so I'm very excited.
is that the
What-
one
what
where
do
you spit in a thing and mail it off? And
Yeah, you spit in a little tube and then you put it in the mail like it's biohazard, no big deal. Just ship it off.
What do you anticipate the results to be, Megan?
Well, my mom's was the first daughter born in the US of Russian immigrants. So I'm assuming a lot of Russian.
Wow, cool.
And on my dad's side, his skin color is translucent. So we're thinking Scandinavian.
Wow. So I mean, when he doesn't need X-rays though, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you can
Damn,
see
Jim, look
right
at your
through
liver.
him.
What do you mean? Look at your liver. I'm looking at it right now. It looks.
Yeah, we have to put SPF 200 on him if he just walks outside. Even if there's snow on the ground, there's a little bit of sun glare. Can't do that.
he gets burned
SPF
if the moon is full.
Yeah, full moon. He's in for a burn. Yeah.
SPF 200, by the way, is the equivalent of corduroy. I don't know if any of you know that.
I'm just gonna rub toothpaste on my skin.
Wouldn't it be great just like if somebody worked at ancestry.com just to like mess with somebody, they send the results, they send the little pie chart, and there's like 32% it says non-human. What?
There should be an option to get that for your friend as a gift. So they go through the whole motions of spitting into the tube, and then it's all a prank.
Or like you name like it's like 23% Crab Nebula. You know, like Crab Nebula galaxy. What? How did you? God, this is so advanced.
I'm gonna copyright that idea.
Hey,
I really think I think that's a good idea. We should do that.
do it. I just asked 10%. That's all I want. Finder's figure creation. That's all I want.
All right. Yeah.
God. So that, yeah. So yeah, Ireland, thinking about that. You know, I've never been to the Far East. There is in Bhutan, but it would cost a lot, and I'd really have to kick ass on a Kickstarter campaign. But there is actually the Snowman Trail in Bhutan, but you can only do that with a group. And there could be problems as far as me taping. You know, people wouldn't want to be taped, perhaps.
Yeah.
Probably, you know, so all that. But and then South America, you know, Patagonia sounds great.
Oh, that does sound great. How
Yeah.
long do you normally go for when you film these things? I know that it varies depending on the length of the trail and where you go, but what's your time frame that you're normally looking for when you
Well, I would say
plan
now
on-
that I'm approaching 84 years old, I really prefer, I would say about 2.5 months.
Mhm.
You know, that's when I did the Camino. That's what I did.
Right.
Did that a few years ago. It's the film Wayfaring, available on squatchfilms.com. And
take a shot?
yeah. And his sight is really blurry. And because it's a good, you know, it gives you enough time usually to get enough footage. That's really the key. If you're I like to make films that are at least 75 to 80 minutes. So I usually feel you need about 27 hours of footage. That's just the way it's kind of the math that is worked out with it.
Okay.
And if you go any shorter than that, I think it's really hard to get quality footage, to have enough.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to get to a point where you feel you're padding it, you know, like just
Right.
a
With
lovely
like just a panning of a view with some light music in the background.
Watch. I didn't need to see it for 45 seconds.
Just in case we didn't say it enough times, what's your website, Scott?
I don't know. I don't know if I did mention that, but it's squatchfilms.com.
Is that the best way
Squatch-
for people to follow you?
Yeah, if you go there, I mean,
You
you can download, you can stream, you can order DVDs, Blu-rays at Squatch Films. That's SQUATCH films.com. And if you somehow don't have a pen and paper and have a hard time remembering that, most of my films are available on Amazon.
If you're driving, pull over before you write this down.
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
Can you give us your Twitter handle again?
What's that?
Your Twitter handle? Can you give us that again?
Twitter handle is Squatch7, all one word. SQUATCH 7, all connected.
The number 7?
Number 7. Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. I've got to, I'm going, wait a minute.
It's okay. Expletives are all
I have to
right.
go because I'm going to my girlfriend's
you have a
house.
date.
Oh!
Yes, I'm going to get to the store, get some food, and then, well, I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do, but we're going to have fun.
Are you going to wear that top?
What's that?
Are you going to wear that top?
The top, you can see my top?
Yeah, like the neckline's a little beat up. Like maybe you want to just comb your
My
hair a
camera's
little bit. I'm trying to help you out.
Wait a minute. Where are you? Are you on there?
You can't see me.
I
My
can't.
video's off, but
Yeah,
I can
but we've
see
been
you.
watching
I've
you
been
this
watching
whole
you this
time.
whole time.
Oh my God. I'm turning me off.
I saw you almost pick your nose.
Hey, wait a minute.
That was your mute button.
You have a lot of good shots of the side of my head. This.
Stories from the Trail is a production of thetrek.co. Zach Davis, editor-in-chief. Your hosts are Gary Sizer and Megan Thompson, with music by Lee Rosevere. Stories from the Trail is recorded, mixed, and edited by me, Gary Sizer, in Blanket Fort Studios, which is literally just me in my basement with a blanket over my head. Thanks for listening. We should work something out.
Oh,
No.
boy.
Honey, it's time for the prostate exam. You don't have a prostate. It was yanked out in 14. Oh, shut up.